Hello, hello, hello. Right, my machine is telling me I'm live, so hopefully you can all hear me. I'm going to just double check that my microphone is yes, it says it's, so you should be able to hear me. If you can't, please do put a message down below and I will get to it quickly. I will just see if I go off to the right here, it's because I'm actually looking at my other computer to see that I am live. Yes, I'm live. Yay. Okay, cool. You have my full attention. Well, I say that. I have a tendency to go rambling off. But primarily, I am here today as the guest artist in the Blooms this month. And today, I promised I would go live every Tuesday at 11 o'clock. So here I am. And it made sense to show you around my studio and what I have on my mat and kind of the things which I'm thinking about doing and some of the inspirations and things. It's almost like, I suppose, not a day in the life of an artist, but perhaps 30 minutes. I won't let you hear what goes on in my head because that can be quite frightening sometimes. But yeah, so anybody who has seen Monday's technique video, which was about the armature, let me show you that so far I have added some fibres to the armature, and it most definitely is in the ugly stage. So let me just show you that. Yep, doesn't look anything like a tiger, does it? No. And I think that's one of the biggest issues that people struggle with who are sculpting and fibre sculpting, is for a very long time it doesn't look anything like what you want it to look like. There are all these in-between stages and you just have to keep your vision of where you're going, which I think is why I do so much of the research and looking at the body and everything, because I know I can visualize where I'm getting to, even though I know it doesn't look like it at the moment. And it's quite interesting because the tiger, which, you know, we're going into the year of the tiger. I was born in the year of the tiger, so it's actually very special starting the 1st of February. Even though I'm still doing I mean, artists call about laying paint down on a canvas. This is kind of the equivalent, which is basically throwing wool or attaching wool on the armature so that you have a base that you can then start sculpting. And actually start properly doing what you want. It's the underlayers that I'm doing. But even though I'm doing that, I've started looking at other pictures and photos and videos, because each section that you go to, you kind of obsess. So like when I get to the paws, I will obsess with the paws and how furry they are and how big they are, and where the claws should be, and whether I'm going to make a big deal out of it or not. And same with the face, you know, and the eyes. I think each area I will obsess about it and get that bit right. And then, of course, there's always the coming back and doing the overall. You're always coming back and readjusting and looking at the whole. So, yeah, anyway, so that's a little bit about the tiger, which is the project that I'm carrying on through the month. But I thought it was worth actually also saying that I never have just one project on the go, and I might go over to my other camera for a minute, because I can possibly take you around and show you a couple of bits. So let me just trans over to here. Yep, and I'm going to swiftly turn the camera around. There we go. Right, so oh, I've just suddenly thought that's not necessarily a great idea, because my my microphone is here. So perhaps if I'm still on the microphone, but you can see over there my elephant. I wonder if I could possibly. Oh no, you are quite zoomed in, aren't you? Okay, you can see my elephant over there, and I am currently planning on doing mama and baby to go with the elephant. And that long piece of wood that they're on will be the full mount that they're on, will be on. And you can see Clayton the wolf is there next to the elephant. And he still needs a little something special, and I haven't quite decided what that's going to be yet, but that's in my mind. The day it happens, you will all know about it, because I shall no doubt squeal with delight that I have finally decided what that will be. So yeah, that's all in my head, let's say. So whilst we're on this camera, let me you can just about see, that's my it's not a weapon of torture, that's actually my carding machine, which I'm not holding this very well, am I? It's a bit wobbly. There we go. Try and keep it still, Steph. Depending on whether I'm mixing fibres or whether I just have got some fibre which I don't think is straight enough for me to start wrapping round. You know, it might be a bit clumpy and I have to put it through. My carding machine is a real treat. If I'm actually taking wool from a fleece as well, then it obviously needs cleaning, it needs picking, as we call it, and then carding. The picking machine does look like a weapon of torture, but I'll show you that on another day. Okay, that's just a little bit of display of a few pieces, but round here you can see this is all wool, by the way, and alpaca. And I think there's even some camel here. All wool. Fleeces in the corner there, still waiting to be washed. Masses of it. Wool everywhere. If I show you my desk, so this is where we've got the tiger on the mat, as it were. And I'm using, as you can see, not white as the core. I'm using a yellow core, which basically I've bought, and I'm assuming it was wool, which is a bit clumpy, and they've dyed it because I've put this through my carding machine. It's basically cheap wool, but it's quite nice to have a colour in the centre, which you can bring out with a reverse needle, which is another technique I will talk about on another occasion. So let me just show you briefly round, because you're looking at my microphone, to be honest, round the other way. And look at that glorious tin. Steve and I bought that when we were at a show at Milton Keynes, and I just think it's glorious, absolutely glorious. And I have no idea what I'm going to do with it. It's German, from the Schmidt stable, who used to do toys, so I have yet to translate the words which are on the lid, but we'll see. But as you can see, that's my kind of tool trolley, which may look a little bit like a hairdresser's trolley, because I have hair straighteners and curling tongs, etc., in there, because I use those as well. But that's probably going too far to mention all those things today, all in one fell swoop. But anyway, so there we have. I'm going to bring us back. Bom. Now, I'll bring us back by bringing you back to me. There we go, I'm back. Whew, that was a bit, I'm not quite sure how useful that was, or whether it was a bit, whoa, going too fast type thing. So anyway, so that's my studio, which I have my various, wool everywhere, really, and inspirations. But I was saying to you that I don't just have one project in my head, and obviously I'm thinking about doing the elephants, and, well, I will be doing the elephants, but I'm thinking about how I'm actually going to be doing the medium and the baby one, and how that will look. But an animal I've had in my head for a while, and I think I showed you the armature on another live, is the pangolin, who actually is very endangered. So I would really love to help show the plight of that. I've just realised that my heater's on. I've got to turn my heater off. Okay, there we go. I'm not sure if that was distracting or not, but there you go. So actually, I'm not sure whether anybody is able to comment, because I'm looking at the blooms. Oh, no, Steve's, yes, fantastic. Steve has commented, tidier than normal. Yeah, you're right. The studio is tidier than normal, because as you well know, I did tidy it up a little bit the other day. Now, I know that some people hate a scruffy desk and it just... it wouldn't work for them, but I have always worked in what I consider to be organised chaos. I'm not going to lie and say I know where everything is, because I don't, but I've got a pretty good idea of where everything is. I suppose that's probably the most accurate way. So anyway, so talking, once again, I told you I get distracted really easily. One of the projects that I am doing, as well as the pangolin, and I'm going to do a red panda. So let me show you. That's obviously not the cutest picture. There are some really cute pictures of pandas. Now, the bonus that we have is just up the road in Burford. Is it the Cotswold? I think it's... Oh, my heater's just come on again. Excuse me. And she's back. In the Cotswold Animal Park, anyway, Wildlife Park in Burford, just up the road, they have red pandas. And so I've got an advantage actually going to see them and how they move. I say how they move, they sleep a lot. So the really interesting thing is that red pandas were discovered before the giant panda. And in fact, they're not related at all, which is interesting that they've both been called pandas for that. But there are two main types. One which is from the Himalayas, which I love the idea of the Himalayas. I don't know why I have a kind of romanticised version in my head of the Himalayas. And China, and is it Bhutan? Not very good with geography, not very good with pronunciations either. But anyway, there's a strip. And I know conservationists are trying to join up this sort of strip of forest, because at the moment it's quite separate and they don't really join. But anyway, there's a difference between the two types of pandas. The Chinese pandas have the really red markings, and the Himalayan ones have a lot more white on the face. But looking at it, it's the female which has a lot more white than the male. So I'm torn between my kind of love of the Himalayas, but one thing that I did think was they do eat a lot of bamboo, but they also eat flowers, and one of the things that region is really famous for is for beautiful rhododendrons. So I was just kind of thinking, ooh, I could include rhododendrons in it. That's where my head is. Once again, I start off with these ideas, and then, like anything, you have to sort of like go down a funnel to really find out a lot about it, to find out whether you really can do that or not. But I will be doing the armature of the panda very soon, maybe even today, because like I say, I have lots of projects on the go at the same time, and I really do, I will do a part of the tiger, and I'll get to a point where I think I just want to do something else. And it's not because you're bored with it, but you just feel like you've given everything to that project for that moment. And some days you can go for hours, and other days you're just like, the inspiration. And this might sound a bit arty, and I don't often think I'm like an arty person. But I do feel like some days the inspiration just isn't there for that particular piece, so you move on to something else. Something else I was going to say about the red pandas, which, as I say, I get a little bit obsessed about these things, are the paws. No jokes, please, Steve, about pauses. Right, let's have a look. Can you see those? They have fluffy feet they're fluffy bottoms of their paws, and they also have a false thumb. So it looks like they have 6 toes, but they don't. They have, I think, can I point there? It's like a false thumb. Helps them actually hang on to trees and things. So that's, oh yeah, here we go. This will show you, I think. Look at the different types of faces. So these are like the Chinese, and these are the Himalayan, and that's the female with more white. So the male red panda still has quite a bit of red, doesn't it? So I might end up going for the male red Himalayan panda. Yeah, these aren't my drawings, by the way. I found them on the internet, freely available. I'm not stolen anybody else's work. But yeah, the pangolin, if you don't know what it is, it's kind of, it looks like an anteater. No, I've put the armature away. It looks like a kind of anteater shape, and it has scales. And unfortunately, the reason why it is the most trafficked animal is because of those scales. And the scales are made of keratin, and Chinese medicine uses it. Medicine, it's you know, that's let's go to the plant, shall we, for medicine? That's all I'm saying. So yeah, and there's many different types as there are, and pangolin in, I can't remember which language, but in a language, pangolin means one that is curled up, because that's what they do, they curl up, you know, with their scales, you can imagine. So some of them are tree hanging, so they have really long tails to hang from trees, and others, and they run, and they get up on their hind legs, and they're just gorgeous little creatures. I think on my Instagram feed, a bit further down, there's a picture of a little baby one, and I think he's almost green, his scales. So I think I'm going to have quite a lot of fun deciding how my pangolin's going to look. Yeah, I've got some great ideas. But obviously, at the moment, I'm also considering everything to go on my tiger. Now, if anybody who knows me, they'll know that I go on and on about my little notepad, which is called Remarkable, which I'm just looking to see. I've written some notes to make sure I've mentioned everything that I was going to. Yeah, pangolin. Oh, hummingbird. So, yeah, I did a fabulous hummingbird for a friend. And the lovely story behind it was my friend wanted me to do this hummingbird for her friend, and it was in memory of her friend's friend. Okay, so we got the friend for the friend of the friend who'd passed away. Now I knew all three of them, which was lovely. So I really, really enjoyed that project. Now I'll show you that when I do something, I make a couple of different versions of the armature stage, and this is sort of like the reject stage that I did of the hummingbird. So I'm just using this to sort of demonstrate something to the reason why I did it an extremely long was because I was trying to figure out how this particular hummingbird that I did was going to actually be eating out of a flower, and then therefore would be suspended. I won't bore you with the detail of what I ended up doing, but anyway, there's this wonderful hummingbird. I'm trying to remember the name of it now. The racket-tailed, white-booted hummingbird, and basically has fluffy trousers round his feet, and he has this really long tail, can't see, really long tail, and this little racket, and they're kind of green, mainly in colour, but they have this really luminous area. And I've had a picture of these hummingbirds on my computer for a while, and I've been a little bit obsessed with it. So I really feel like I want to do these two. Now the female hummingbird doesn't have the long tail. It's always the way, isn't it? What is it with the females in the bird kingdom? Perhaps they're just, not showing off. Let's just say that. And you think, well, should I do two or whatever? But then I haven't been able to find out enough about the hummingbirds to know whether the male and the female do a little dance, because I have finches. I have zebra finches and community finches and silver-billed finches, and they do fabulous little dances when a mate. I just love it. I mean, it feels a little bit voyeuristic, but it's just hilarious, the little dance that the male does, and then the female usually goes no, and and it takes a while. So I wonder with hummingbirds whether we get that, which would be quite nice to sort of visualize a dance or something. Because like with my hares, you know, that's a male and a female, but that's where the female's gone back off, so which isn't quite so romantic. So perhaps I'd like a bit more of a romantic notion when it comes to the hummingbird, which would be, yeah, good. Now, what else did I have on my little list that I suddenly saw and I thought I've forgotten? Oh, just about fibres. I know I've mentioned a lot about different fibres that I use, and like on this occasion I said I wasn't sure for the tiger whether I was going to be using wool or whether I was going to be using the recycled plastic, because I really love the idea of the recycled plastic fibres, which look just like in fact I'm gonna dash over there a sec, because that's where they are. I say dash, I'm not dashing really now. Oh, let me show you. It's not very good, is it, wandering off? Okay. So it's worth saying that this is how the plastic fibres come, and they're fabulous, but they're quite squeaky, but they do felt. I've put my little inverted commas up because strictly speaking felting is with wool fibres, because I think I've shown many times before my picture of fibres. If you put them under a microscope, they've actually got scales on them. Wool, well, she's looking around now. She, talking about herself in the third person. How bizarre is that? Yeah, it's the right way around. Right, okay, there's my little head. Right, so we have, no, this end stuff. Wool, finer wool, but they still got scales. Look, alpaca, there's still scales, but they're just not very. Cashmere have bigger scales. Silk, none whatsoever. Linen, cotton, polyester. So I haven't got a microscope, which might surprise you because I seem to have everything else. I haven't put these under a microscope, so I don't know, but they felt. They absolutely, felting is where you're compressing the fibres and they literally lock together, and it's those scales which lock them together. And when I use my needle and I felt them, they lock together, because my sea turtle was as hard as a hard thing on National Hard Day. So anyway, I had to decide whether I was going to use these, but to use them to wrap around an armature, into the degree of the tiger where you need to do quite so much of it, I have to card them so that they're nice and long, which is fine because I'm able to do that, but it's just they go hard too quickly. And I explained that when I'm doing this one, because he's going to be crouching down drinking water, so at the moment I'm producing him in his standing up position, but I need to keep these soft. See, so they're quite all soft at the moment. They've got a big fluffy bottom, because then I'm going to bend him into his position and his muscles are going to move, and that's when I'm going to make him hard. And I think if I used these fibres at the start, it'd have gone too hard too quick, and I'll say no more about that. Now I've just thought, very exciting moment for me is, oh, I've got some, sorry, just a second, I've got some comments. What is the medicine for? Oh, pangolin is a Malaysian word, thank you. Oh, hi Claire. Hi Castle Evans. The medicine, yeah, what the pangolins and the medicine, I have no idea. Chinese medicine often, they have one thing which they put in lots of different forms. They have their jars of all the individual things, and depending on what ailment someone has, they mix them all together. So I'm assuming it's many things. That's my limited knowledge of Chinese medicine. Okay, so yeah, that's the answer to that. Oh, and Steve says pangolin is a Malaysian word. Thank you. It's Malaysian for one that curls up, which is lovely. So, and I've said hello, Claire. So, yeah, one thing which arrived. So one of the processes that I go through when I'm creating my sculptures is the mount. And I love to use driftwood. Okay, so which is found from the beach. Now, they're not always pieces that I've been down to a beach and found, because I don't live near a beach. But what I do, there are many people on eBay who live near beaches and they collect them and sell them. So I scan continually, and especially when I have a project like I know about, like my tiger, who's going to be leaning down into a pool. So I saw this piece on eBay and thought, oh, I think that's going to be perfect. And it arrived yesterday, so let me share that with you. Okay, let me put it up that way. So, can you see my vision, which is my tiger will be crouching down and then head bending down into where the water will be. Okay, and we're hopefully going to be doing something very special with the water. But that has to be experimented on, and we'll be coming to that. But that's like a really important part to me. It's like the elephant that you can see over there when I found that really long piece of wood. And immediately I was like, family of elephants. So I need to do mama and baby. Clayton, my wharf, I've already found a piece for that. And it's that point where you go, yes, found it. That creates, there's always a piece of wood that is perfect, which has landed on a beach. So once again, a bit of recycling. Love a bit of recycling. Let's have another look. Okay, so yeah. Where was I before I suddenly went off on a tangent about my... So I'm looking down at my little remarkable in case I've got anything else. That, because I don't want to blurt it all out in one go. I'm going to come live again next Tuesday at 11 o'clock again, and talk some more about the tiger and anything else that has come up. But on Thursday this week, I will be... hopefully it'll either be the pangolin or it'll be the red panda, but I'll do a little presentation of my thinking process, what type of pangolin, what type of red panda, whichever one I've decided that I'm going to do. And on Friday I will put up a past project, which might be the hummingbird. If you know of any of my past projects that you want to know a bit more about, shout. Well, type loudly, and I'll get back to you. Okay, so wow, that half an hour went quick, didn't it? Okay, so that's my brief little introduction to my studio and what I've got on my mat, as I say at the moment. If you've got any questions, if you want to look, if you're looking through this again or on replay, if you've got any questions, put them below, and I will answer. And this is also going live on YouTube, so anybody on there has any questions, I will come along afterwards and explain. So unless... Oh, Claire, a bee. Well, funny you should say that, Claire, because I've been thinking about a bee, because I previously did a bee, and it was quite tiny. Not obviously life size, because that would have been minuscule, and I don't do things that small. But I did a little bee on a flower, and it was, gosh, it might have been in my first year of needle felting, and somebody bought it, and it is no longer with me. But I was thinking the other day how I could actually do a big version of a bee, but I haven't got any further with it, so that's mulling these things sometimes, because another project which is mulling in my mind, which I think I'm going to try and get ready for our show in September at the Contemporary Art Fair in Sandown Park. We've got one in March, but we've got one in September as well, is the Phoenix. I've had this project in my mind for a very long time, and I now have a new technique for feathers, which I learnt through Sarafina, who I am a certified... Oh, I've got my certificate, guys. No, I've got to share that. Where is it? Where is it? Nope, I've lost it. Damn. Now I've lost it. I'll have to show you another time. I've got my official certificate which says I am a certified instructor for Serafina. But anyway, so I've learned how to do these feathers in a different way, because I have my own technique for little things like the hummingbird, because they're quite, and when I did my kestrel, which you can't see at the moment but is there, because they're quite small, but obviously in the phoenix they're going to be these big feathers, so I'm very excited about that. So yeah, that's mulling away in my head as well. So yeah, so I'm gonna got these so many projects, so little time, kinda. Anyway, so that's brilliant. So that's yeah, I'm over the 30 minutes now, so I won't outstay my welcome. So thank you everybody for joining me, and as I say, please do put comments below, any questions, anything you want me to say, because I've got this whole month that I'm in the blooms, sharing my projects, processes and everything else. And on Monday I will show, I don't know what process I'm going to share on Monday, but that will be a video, some sped up because some of this takes a long time. Okay, so brilliant. Have a great rest of your Tuesday or whatever day you're watching this, and I'll see you very soon.